Alright, and we are off. Welcome again to Zelda Oracle of Ages, wow, Seasons. 80% tournament. We have Sagas on the left, qdoe on the right. It's going to be a fun race. We're going to have some tight tricks. And we're going to have some fun with the seasons. But first, Link's going to go ahead and stop by a party. He's going to dance around, have some fun. And this will be it for now. Here we got very happy music. Nothing can possibly go wrong in this game. First thing you'll notice that both runners are playing on the Japanese version. Not only does it save a lot of time on just text in general, there is a very specific glitch in the early part of the game that is exclusive to the Japanese version. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But oh no, our party got crashed by a whirlwind. This whirlwind just happens to be General Onyx. He captures Din, who is the Oracle of Seasons, who the game is named after. However, he's gonna toss her into a crystal, and this is gonna toss the entire land of Haldrum into a chaos of many different seasons. So, some other background about Oracle Seasons. This was originally intended to be like a remake of the original Legend of Zelda. Then you'll see this particularly more so like in the first dungeon, like the homages over to the original Legend of Zelda. It's like it's gonna have a very similar layout to the first dungeon. It has the same boss. It's a lot of fun stuff. Alright, so with all the seasons out of order, each unique area of the game has its own default season, except for this town of Horon. We'll see a bunch of random seasons. For the most part, we never want to see winter in town, but otherwise we don't care what season we get. But right now we can't do anything, so naturally we just have to hop into a cave-in. We'll eventually get a sword out of this. Big things for optimization is trying to keep your movement tight, but try not to fall into holes. So this top section gives us a small key, and then we'll see our first saving quote of the run. We'll be using saving quotes mainly to get back to places faster, just save a lot of backtracking. And in other parts of the game, it lets us skip some key usages along the way as well, and save a lot of time that way. Main thing we're hoping for is these mini resolves just not attaching onto a link, because that just makes them walk really slow. But just like this, not guarded by anything, we have our sword. Fall forward Sagas, and we'll see shortly what qdoe gets. The big reason that we don't want to see winter in this, the screen that Sagas is going to right now, this would be blocked by a giant pile of snow that you can't walk past, so it just adds 3 extra screens of movement in order to get to this gate. So we can talk to the Maku tree, who's going to give us the key to the very first dungeon in the game, the Norbrud dungeon. Just kind of sets up the little backstory that we need the 8 essences of seasons in order to break this barrier that's right outside Onyx's castle. The game actually only checks to make sure we had the final essence, but there are a lot of mini checks throughout the game that make sure that we cannot get the 8th essence without every other essence beforehand. And then, much like Zelda 1, very first dungeon is inside a tree. Then, not a whole lot going on right now, so we just have to kill some skeletons, get some keys, open some doors. If any of your players is going for the power ring route, they want you to see at least one rupee drop and it'll be fine. We'll be able to tell if they're going to go for that route if they start killing other enemies that are just out of the way or just kind of slow to do that. Yeah, so Sagas looks like he is definitely going for power ring route. RNG in this game is more or less static and predictable and manipulatable. There are certain actions that advance the RNG. It's the exact same pattern every single time after you do a hard reset or power on the game. Some of those actions include slashing your sword. Some enemies roll frames RNG every frame, like these keys right here. Other enemies only call it whenever they're about to decide to do something, which is still on a fairly set pattern, but not as frequent as before. But what Sagas is trying to do, he is trying to make sure he has enough enemies killed to manipulate a maple encounter, which is going to happen right outside this dungeon after he's done with that, so that's why he's killing some extra slimes along the way. So we get our first use of the bomb, just on the way to the mini boss. We're going to use that bomb to skip one of the items later on. And then we see our first mini boss, really quick fight. Throw a bomb, hopefully it hits twice, but otherwise you just need 6 slashes instead of 4. And interesting quirk on this game is the 2 moblins, they have separate HP values, but the entire fight ends when one of them gets to no HP. Something that you'll see both runners do, so whenever they need to switch items and there's a transition, that little fade out transition that goes in and out of the screens, that's the best time to menu to switch items. It just saves a few frames since it just recognizes that needs to go to a certain lightness value before it loads the menu. And just like that, we have the big key. You're gonna see both runners do a hard reset where we see that BIOS screen. This resets that RNG. Then they want to mash through the menu as fast as they can because the value they're looking for is pretty early into the cycle. And the title screen does advance RNG each frame. But what's going to happen is, one, it sets the pattern on those stalfos there. And then on this first boss, the Aquamentes, shoutouts to original Zelda, there are 2 different attacks that it can do. One is it'll just kind of walk slowly towards you whenever it starts. The other one is it can charge across the room and fly slowly back to the right hand side. And then that's just the start of this manipulation. If the manipulation goes well for both runners, this will last until about halfway, well, a quarter of the way through Dungeon 2. What this is also going to do is it'll set Sagas up to hopefully get the power ring. I'm not sure if he was on the manipulation still or not, since he didn't do a setup or slash until he heard sounds, or he just heard that low sound immediately. Okay, so we'll find out later on if that was the power ring. I haven't seen that particular manipulation before on that pattern. But if all one is playing from holding the RNG from after the big key until right there, that's going to, one, manipulate Maple to drop or a power ring for when he appraises it later on. Having extra power on your sword swings, slashes, and spins isn't too terribly useful for Dungeon 2, so he's just gonna wait until along the way back from Dungeon 2, along the way to Dungeon 3 to turn that in is when it starts to shine. And then Sagas is still on the manipulation. There are two patterns that Rosa can do on this little hide and seek sequence. There's a fast pattern and there's a slightly slower pattern. And then the manipulation makes that happen as well. And then qdoe's on a slightly different manipulation, it seems. He typically does no rings, but he should also be manipulating some red rupees out of these signs right here. Okay, so he is off it. Yep, and then just like that, Rosa couldn't see us because of the hood blocking her peripheral vision, and then shows us the way to the underworld of Oracle Seasons Subrosia. Whenever Onyx did kidnap Den at the very beginning of the game, he also sunk the Temple of Seasons to be underground, and we already know where it is. We're just walking towards it right now. This is going to give us basically the gimmick item of the game, the Rod of Seasons. Unfortunately, it starts with no power right when we get it, but fortunately there is a tower that we can go to immediately that gives us our first season that we can change the holodrum into. And then as far as changing seasons in this game, you might have saw that little stump that the players were hopping on and off on the last screen of the hide and seek. Whenever you hop onto the stump and then use the Rod of Seasons, it'll let you switch to a different season. It'll cycle between the seasons in natural order, based on what you have. Also, the game wanted us to go do a dancing mini game to get a boomerang, but we have bombs. It can do that. The first boomerang is absolutely useless in terms of the speedrun, so we just won't take that little detour to get it. Alright, so first season that we were able to get is the Season of Winter. What this does is it creates a bunch of snow piles, it decays some trees, so it makes some extra paths for us. It also freezes water. And it's also the only way to the second dungeon at this time. So far, it does seem like Sagas is still on the manipulation. So he's still holding on to that. He's kept his movement time, made sure he doesn't roll RNG too much, and then he's fixed it right there to make sure it's right. And then this is going to fix the enemy positions and patterns from here until until we enter Dungeon 2. And then qdoe's been off manipulation for a little bit, but we'll see what kind of patterns he gets. And at this point, in order to save on some future menuing times, like, we have taken off the sword already and just have the rods. Like, it can push enemies around, but it can't destroy enemies. And then it's not really worth it to try to switch over to sword just to get rid of enemies along the way. It also kind of messes up your menu routing, since in the GB series of Zelda, unlike previous games, your items go wherever you put them in the menu. They're not in a set space like in Link to the Past and Zelda 1. So anything that you do to kind of mess up your menu kind of throws you off for the rest of the run sometimes. And then Sagas is still in the manipulation. Just a little bit longer, and then he'll be done with that. Yep, and then the big part of the manipulation is this room right here. You either have to hope you get good luck and be able to hit those moblins in one throw, or wait for them to get close to the edge so you can slash them with a sword. And that's basically only options. So without the manipulation, that room can either be incredibly fast or incredibly slow, just all depending on RNG. So we'll see what qdoe gets on that one. And it does look like he got pretty beat up along the way to Dungeon 2 from not so hot enemy patterns. Alright, this room that Sagas is in, you need 7 bombs in order to get through it all. It is a timed room, so like if you don't get to this chest fast enough, it does disappear. But you can miss a few bombs before it actually does disappear. Opting to save and quit here. This takes him back to the beginning of the dungeon, and he has to go back up here. It is a slightly slower than taking a long walk back and then coming back this way. But also slightly sensitive to RNG because you still don't have your sword out anymore. Oh wow, that mom is not playing nice at all for qdoe. Alright, qdoe is a bit short on rupees. After this dungeon, just a few minutes after we're done with this dungeon, we need to spend 10 rupees in order to progress in the game. A room that Sagas just passed on, there is a chest that has 10 rupees in it. That's a backup chest in case that qdoe will be more likely be taken advantage of. He's only 2 rupees away, so you might try to rely on RNG to get that. So this is the big reason on Saga stream while we're on Japanese version. You see here we had the mini-boss Facade. Looked like he was just throwing bombs into the middle of the room for no reason. But on the Japanese version, Facade's hitbox is actually active without spawning the rest of the fight. So we just throw the 5 bombs into the center and call that good. It saves quite a bit of time on an RNG. You don't have to wait any cycles out. You don't have to rely on cycles that can only let you toss 1, 2, or 3 bombs at a time before he disappears. So makes it the most reliable fight ever. All that's left to do in this dungeon is we need the big key so we can access the Dungeon 2 boss. Keys are also the most hated enemy in the speedrun. Just like any other flying enemy, they like to be incredibly random and not very cooperative. Meanwhile, we're on entering Dungeon 2 boss, Dodongo, and other shadows to original Zelda. Just like the original Zelda, we do have to throw bombs into his mouth to make him die. Except this time all it actually does is specifically make him all bloated, which allows us to pick him up with the bracelet and toss him to the spikes. Just to kind of help get rid of that bloating. Yep, and then true to others in Zelda fashion, the item that you get is typically the item that you need to defeat the boss and finish the game. Alright, so Path to Dungeon 3 is quite the long one. It's like the first few dungeons, like the in-between part has some extremely long segments. A lot of things to do between them in order to get access to the next dungeon. So first we gotta make our way back to town. Getting Wonder this time around is fine, since we need to do a few other things that make Winter negligible as far as the extra snow it piles it adds. First thing is, we come down and visit this tree. It looks kind of random why we do that, but there's a seed later on in this game that lets us go back to other seed trees that we have visited beforehand. And then we just happen to need to come back here much later in the game with the use of those seeds. So we just kind of bypass that snow pile, and then Sagas did end up getting his power ring. What that does is it adds 2 extra damage to every swing or and spin. And then that by itself, it does speed up a lot of fights in general. It also comes at the disadvantage of you take a little bit extra damage. But Sagas is really good. So the dying as a result of that is not terribly big of a concern, but some RNG patterns just aren't really nice. So this is what we needed the 10 rupees for, was for the Blano fight. Just a little penguin with boxing gloves. He beats up a kangaroo, steals the boxing gloves, and now we have a sad kangaroo. But we don't know about that kangaroo yet, but we got gloves anyways. And one other slight advantage on the Japanese version, in the Blano fight, so the rules are you can't have any items equipped on that during that fight. On the English version, it keeps those items unequipped after the little boxing match. But on Japanese version, they put those items right back to where you have them. It makes it extra convenient and you don't have to menu again. And now we have Ricky the kangaroo. Not our ideal partner for the run, but it's the only one that's not way out of the way as terms of having to either do a mini game several times or having to farm a lot of extra rupees early on to get someone else. So Ricky's just right there, so we'll use him. Big thing on controlling Ricky is just the hops themselves. Like, if Ricky is in the air still trying to do a long hop, then you won't be able to transition to the next screen. So a lot of tiny optimizations concerning that. And then along the way, we did get a new seed, the Pegasus seeds. It is the Oracle's version of the Pegasus boots, except you don't have a little startup animation to use them, and you can run in multiple directions. So it's kind of like a free super speed that lasts a few seconds, and you call it good. It does end after a few seconds, as well as when you transition to a new map, or you go up and downstairs. You do notice that we only start off with 18, we have a limited supply. So a lot of the rest of the run is about managing when and where you use those seeds. This tournament is strictly only Oracle of Seasons. As of right now, there are no plans for a tournament for Oracle of Ages, but that doesn't mean that there will never be one. But right now, there is nothing in the works for one right now. Another silly thing with Ricky, though, so when it comes, he can also hop up cliffs, except if you're a little bit off center, he just won't drop off them. To get the next season, we need Ricky to get to the place, but first we're gonna make a little bit of a side detour. In this chest, there is a square jewel. This is not used until we want to enter Dungeon 6. We need 4 different jewels on that. But we go ahead and grab that now, because this is the only time we are in this area of the game, so there's no point in coming back. Alright, coming up is the first set of fun RNG digging. What we're looking for is a star ore. It can be in one of 4 locations in these 4 screens on the beach. Second try, third try, and then the last dig spot is up top. Ideally, we want to see on the first and second at bet or seconds, as that'll let us still have our Pegasus seeds running up the stairs. But what this star ore does, it lets us buy a ribbon, and let's Link go on this date with someone that has a key to every single door in Subrosia. So it's a pretty sweet deal, it's a pretty nice date. Unfortunately, Link doesn't have very good manners. He just takes advantage of the ability to open doors and then just kind of bails. And then where Link is taking Rosa is back to the Temple of Seasons, which apparently has a locked door that only Rosa can open up. And then but then again, I guess we did first meet Rosa in the overworld, so she could have locked it herself and be perfectly fine. What we are getting this time around for the Rada seasons is the season of summer. What summer does is it dries up lakes and it makes some vines grow. And growing vines is what we need to enter Dungeon 3. Alright, just in time to see how many tries it's going to take qdoe to find the star ore. The location of the star ore is set when we go down from this screen. Try number 1, 2... and third try star ore for qdoe as well. Now that we have the power that we want, we decide we don't want Rosa anymore, so we're just gonna hop in this portal and she just stays right here. Right next to this active volcano. But that's okay. She holds no hard feelings against Link. You can always go back in any time and take her out on another date. Switch the season to summer on this stump, and there we go, Dungeon 3. So one of the things you might have noticed right now is we do not have a shield yet. But fortunately we can just use a shovel to flip these spiny beetles. So we have 0 use for the shield in this run. And then Dungeon 3 is when the difficulty starts to go up a little bit. It gets progressively more difficult, but especially these Dungeons 3, 4, and 5, when we still have kind of low hearts for the dangers, and there's quite a few interesting tricks and fun tricks within these dungeons. Sagas is getting the hands manipulated. They spawn at set times, and the location they spawn in is based on the direction Link is facing when that calculation is made. So just some tight movement and turning around at the right times makes all these hands out of the way, so you don't have to switch to the sword and do some extra menus. Need to make a quick little detour into this screen to grab a small key. Breaking that hole along the way so we don't have to do a long way push back to get back here. Now we're gonna go upstairs. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have one of the few statue puzzles in this game. Very easy. Just do all the odds down, push down the last red, push everything right, and then everything else down again. P.S. Being a little trolly, Moldorm's out of the way. It's a few screens away from getting the item of this dungeon. And then this item compared with when mixed with the Pegasus seeds lets us do a lot of fun skips, lets us do a lot of fun movement and stuff like that. That item is the Rock's Feather. Lets us jump around, lets us have some fun in the side scroller section, let's have fun on the top down sections. One tiny thing that you'll notice runners do if they're conscious about it is only jump when it's necessary, when it's actually going to save time to do some jumping around. Because for whatever reason, whenever you do at least one jump in a screen, it does delay the screen transition by just a few frames. So basically, only jump when it's necessary, then after that you can jump as many times until you go to the next screen. Okay, let's see how qdoe's hand manipulations go. Looking alright so far. Let's see. Oh no! Yep. Getting grabbed by the hand sends you back to the beginning of the dungeon and respawns quite a few of the enemies. Well, if they're there still. Okay. So he has to go all the way back here. Also, it's also going to hurt him pretty bad when it comes to his Pegasus seeds routing. There are no guaranteed Pegasus seed drops in this dungeon. There are some enemies that can drop them randomly. But at this point in the game, we're no longer on any sort of plane manipulation. So everything we're going to see for quite a while is going to be just your traditional react to whatever happens in the game. And this time qdoe makes it through without any mishaps. And meanwhile, Sagas is making his way over to the mini-boss. Gonna hop on over, equip the power ring. This lets us do a 2 cycle if the patterns work out nicely on this mini-boss. A lot of hop around, but Sagas does clean it up quite nicely. All we have left to do now is get ourselves a boss key, and then make our way over to the boss. You will notice that Sagas has just 1 seed left. This is the dungeon with probably some of the tighter seed routing. Everyone is completely planned for maximum speed and minimal waste of the seeds. Oh no, it looks like qdoe did get knocked down by these beetles. Alright, so coming up shortly on Sagas' side is the boss of this dungeon, Mothula. In this game, he's just like a flying version of Moldorm. Got some holes that you can fall down in. If you do fall down before you do the final slash, it does respawn Mothula's health. With the power ring, if you get good RNG, you can actually kill Mothula before she starts doing the swinging around of the room with the power ring. So, yeah. Alright, just like that, we have 3 essences down, 4 Sagas on his way for a little bit more fun in Dungeon to get to Dungeon 4. It's a pretty long segment, but first we need some more seeds because we can't go fast anymore. Okay, qdoe's making his way over to the mini-boss of Dungeon 3. Has to go through the hands room one more time. Alright, Alright, this area that Sagas is in, the layout of this entire area is based on which animal's flutes you have. In the speedrun's case, we do have Ricky, so there's gonna be a lot of cliffs to hop around on. There's some extra holes and fun stuff. If we had the next animal, we see Dimitri, who's a Dodongo that swims really fast, goes up a waterfalls. This area would be flooded with some really strong currents. And if we had Moosh the flying bear, this place would be a wasteland with a ton of holes to fly around. Some things that we're looking for is trying to get some Pegasus seeds to drop from the cactus enemies, as well as a scent seed. The scent seed we got right before we went to Blano a while back. The only use that we use it for on the run is to fight the boss of the very next dungeon, and each drop gives us 6, and the boss takes 15, so we have 18. But it's a really precise fight, so getting some extra drops is nice, and then getting some extra Pegasus seed drops lets us have a lot of extra fast movement. But first, we need to get some other equipment. So Dimitri's getting bullied by some kids. So we decided, it's like, okay kids, have these bombs, have some fun. Let us have our dinosaur back. Because that's what everybody likes to do. Use Dimitri to swim up these waterfalls. In this puzzle, we're supposed to slash everything in one slash. But it's basically as long as you only hit B once and then release it once, it counts as the same slash. So we can get away with just pushing one statue once, and that's all we need to do. Gives us the Master's Plaque. So we hop on over here to the Swimming Master. He gets so excited that we obtained his plaque, so he gives us flippers so we can swim around finally. And then also with the flippers, in some locations when we dive down, we enter a cave, just like right here. And this will take us to the next area where Dungeon 4 is located. But before we can get to Dungeon 4, we do need to unlock another season, which is also pretty close to this little entrance. And that was a really good Mothula fight from qdoe. Alright, so this trip into Subrosia. The moment we hop over these, we have the blue and red Subrosian. They just run into us. They see a cool feather, and they steal it from us. But wait, they decide to also give us this green ore, which for whatever reason, it has the same damage value as the Master Sword. Unfortunately, we need the feather back, so we don't get to keep it to do anything fun. Sagas is digging around. A little bit risky since it can spawn these fire pillars. And since he does have a potion, I think he got his potion when he did the power ring manipulation. So there's a little bit of safety on that one, but otherwise, he has to be a little bit careful with hearts still. Dungeon 4 is probably the absolute hardest dungeon in this, as far as hearts to danger ratio. But this time around for the hide and seek game, the patterns are completely set. There's absolutely no variation in them at all. The only RNG you'll see is if you decide to dig things up. But since the patterns are completely set, you get to kind of mess around a little bit. Keys in the ground like that. It's pretty cool. Alright, let's see what qdoe's drops look like on his little trip over here. This is the final screen on Saga's side before he can get his feather back. do a quick save and quit to get us back to the house. And with our further back in hand, we can grab our next season, the season of spring. What spring does is it makes flowers bloom. That includes flowers that can just shoot us up in the air, and there's other flowers that just kind of block the way until it's spring. Along the way back, we're going to hopefully see a tight jump done properly. Wasn't feeling confident right there, which is perfectly fine. Before he makes his way back to the portal, he's going to run off to the screen on the right and pick up a rock. That just seems like an incredibly random thing to do. However, it's like in Subrosion, whenever you pick up a rock, they stay gone permanently. So we need that out of the way for a shortcut much later into the game. Coming up is the only instance that you'll see of a clip in this game. This game is a lot less buggy than say Link's Awakening, where if you clip and do things, you can do some other fancy jumps and stuff like that. But for Seasons, the only useful application for being able to walk like a pixel into a block is to be able to pick up this rooster through a rock and just save a couple screen transitions. This lets us pick up the spring banana so we can make Moose the bear happy. Sagas has stored a couple flowers, hoping to get some bomb drops. Since immediately when we enter Dungeon 4, we do need some more bombs. A lot of the enemies here do have a decent drop rate to get the bombs, but of course it's still RNG, it's not guaranteed. Make a quick pitch stop here just to enter this cave and come back, so we can set our save and quit points, so we don't have to go back and change this season to spring again when we get back here because we go to a new area. We hop on over here so we can get the dragon key so we can get into the next dungeon. And oh no, we have a little bit of a fall, trying to cut that a little bit short, but it happens. And then qdoe starts his hide and seek with the 2 Subrosians really fast. And then does not look like Saga's got his bomb drops. There's still one other opportunity as far as RNG fee goes for it, but otherwise, there's also a chest with 10 bombs that's not too far out of the way. So it's not too big of a loss of not winning the lottery on the bombs. So that's fine. Okay, so we have access to the keyhole, we have the correct key. This makes this waterfall just stop all of a sudden, because rocks with keyholes in them control nature. Quick change to summer so we can hop into this dungeon. A lot of fun and tight tricks in the Dancing Dragons dungeon. So I can see some bombs are just right here, just a few seconds out of the way. And now we need our bombs, so we can open this wall right here. And then so we can do one of the slowest rooms in the game. We have 8 buttons. We have to destroy 2 pots in order to be able to push pots around. And we have to get these pots over to the buttons. And then use Link on one of them. As far as pushing objects in general go, once they start moving, they keep moving until they get to the next tile. So, one tiny optimization that can be done is, once you start moving a pot around, you start going towards the next pot. but no matter how well you do it, that room always feels slow. And then qdoe's getting his spring for his rod. It's also played really nice on Sagas Stride, didn't get in his way while he's trying to push that statue up to the button. Now we're into a nice little side. Oh, that keys. Now we have a screen that Mega Man clearly read from the Zelda series, with these disappearing blocks and set patterns. With Pegasus Seeds and Feathers, it lets you easily clear 2 tile gaps, or if you off-center do some precise jump, or fairly precise jumping between like tile edges, you'll be able to clear 3 tile gaps with that fairly easily. Yep, with the feather, it registers 2 different directions. It registers direction that you're facing when you try the direction you're going when you start the jump, and then about halfway through the jump you can change the direction Link is going. Most of the rest of this dungeon is about collecting keys and going on the way. You need to come back here, kill some light class, kill this little tech titan until we can get this small key later on. Then from here on out, so we do see that Saga's Pegasus Seed count is pretty low, but starting in Dungeon 4, there's a lot of different locations and pots that do have guaranteed Pegasus Seed drops. qdoe gets his dragon key, accidentally hopped off Moosh for a little bit, but that happens. But Sagas, he's almost to the mini-boss, which is a little bit of a shout out to Aghanim, and then a little bit of a shout out to Link to the Past Ganon, as in he shoots these little energy balls at you, and he can only be damaged when both torches are lit. So he splits himself into 3 different copies. The copy that you can damage is the one that has a shadow underneath them. With the power ring, you know, you can 3-cycle this mini boss, and then these little bushes that are off in the corners, they have a chance to drop some ember seeds, and we're at a point where we just need to start restocking on those. First, we still have not seen the dungeon ad in this game, so we're finally about to go get that now. Just a little bit of a quick little puzzle, trying to beat the floor that's falling apart behind us. And now we finally get the slingshot. So what the slingshot does is, let's just shoot seeds that we have already found that are the same as the ones in the satchel. Ember seeds that can be used to damage enemies, as well as light torches from a distance. We have the Pegasus seeds, which can stun enemies whenever we hit them. Most enemies. We also have the Scent Seeds that just damage enemies. We have the Gale Seeds, which on affected enemies will just kind of whisk them out of the playing area and still counts as a kill. And then we have the Mystery Seed that has a equal chance of doing the effect of the other 4 seeds. We saw Sagas light some torches into this immediately save and quit. As long as that chest spawns, it stays there permanently. So just gotta make sure that we don't reset first, because then that cart won't be back in the right position unless you take the long way around that we saw at the beginning or about a third of the way through the dungeon. Really kite jump that Sagas did in order to skip traveling around the entire part of the room, so we can finally get our big key. Come back, one last saving quit. First needs to go straight up so we can grab the final small key so we can make our way to the boss. Keto's working on his pot pushing puzzle. Not a fun time there. Okay, Sagas has his Gale Seeds equipped. Because at this point in the game, we're about to fight some Wizrobs. They take quite a few slashes to kill, and we don't have enough time to keep slashing them, so Gale Seed just kind of get rid of them immediately. The only way is like it only works with that power ring to do that spin attack, and then also makes it really nice to be able to do a 2-cycle in that room rather than 3. Play tie jump against three tiles. Gonna do a little bit of a buffer, and then just hop across the 3 tiles right there. Alright, final room in the dungeon before the boss. Just need to avoid these keys, don't get hit by them, and more importantly, don't get knocked off into a hole by them. Alright, so back to another shout out of another original Zelda boss. We have Goma. The game wants us to slash the claw 10 times and destroy it, and then shoot the eye 5 times. But if we do that, that makes Goma's patterns a lot more erratic, a lot more random. So, but we do have a few pixel gap in order to just shoot a seed, miss the claw, and just still hit in the eye, and that takes 15 shots. So, 4 dungeons in, we're pretty good to go. Not sure what happened on qdoe's side right there. I'm not sure if he died and got sent back there, or if he just missed a switch along the way and had to do some extra minecart madness. Also, by the entrance of Dungeon 4 is another jewel that we need for Dungeon 4, or for Dungeon 6. And we're not coming back in this area of the game again, so we gotta get it now. And then we'll see the first use of Gale Seeds from the satchel, which lets Worlds link away to any of the trees he has visited before. First trip is going to be back to the Pegasus seed tree, since we done used up all our seeds, most of our seeds already, so we need some more running fast fuel. And we come back to the set tree that's by Blano, because this is the closest one to the next browser portal that gives us our final essence of the game. And is also right by the 5th dungeon, too. So, that works out pretty nicely. This trip into the Broja, we need to first run down a little bit. We have to pull the special bomb flower that's just growing down here. Just way off in the middle of nowhere. The Subversians, they don't have the feathers, so they can't jump around and come over here, so we have to do that ourselves. A quick save and quit to get back to where we were. And then make our way back over to the Temple of Seasons, which is a pretty short trip from here. We need this bomb flower because the last tower is blocked by some special blocks that our bombs can't do anything against. It provides this bomb flower, which also apparently only affects rocks and not people, because we can stand right next to this bomb flower. It does not hurt us at all. We can do the speed stress of being as close as you need, whenever we need to. qdoe's almost to his mini boss fight. Just about another minute or two. Alright, so Sagas now is getting the season of autumn for his rock. This is the final season of the final of the 4 seasons. What this does is it fills holes up with leaves. It also makes mushrooms able to be picked up, which is exactly what we need in order to enter Dungeon 5. Yep, and then the game design, it always forces us to use the season that's furthest away from what we need it to be. So one tiny quirk about these mushrooms is, whenever there's a mushroom on screen, we cannot pick up any other... Well, whenever there's a mushroom that's been picked up on screen, we cannot pick up any other objects until it disappears. What Sagas tried to do was toss it off screen, except it hit a rock instead. Which happens. Sad day. Anyways, now we are in Dungeon 5. The strategy in this dungeon, or the basic concept of this dungeon, is get item, get keys, fight boss. Right now all we're doing is going straight to the item of the dungeon, the magnet gloves. Has a little bit of brokenness attached to it, but not too bad. Also, it's like whenever we go into these side scroller sections, on some cycle dependent things, whenever we pause the menu like immediately while entering like that, it does kind of stop some of the other events from happening while a little bit, and it gives us a little bit of an extra edge on beating cycles. See how this P-hat plays on Saga? It's not very nice, but he's still doing fine. And just like that, we have, in the room that has our item of the game, the magnet gloves. Just like it sounds, these gloves are magnetic. Every time we use them, it reverses the polarity of the gloves. So we do a quick polarity change right here, so we can hop across. On objects that are stuck to the ground, it pulls and pushes links around. Or on these other magnetic balls, it pushes them around based on the polarity of the gloves. We saw Sagas just jump out of the hole. For whatever reason, whenever we are getting off the magnet that pushes or pulls Link around, we have exactly 1 frame after releasing to be able to jump around. We get like 1 free buffer jump, so most runners, they like to do a quick pause or select buffer and then jump right out of there. And Sagas is getting really nice on these seed drops. So this armor room that he's in right now, you have to pay attention to the order that you kill them, because that's also the order that you have to open up the chests. And then we saw Sagas kill them all with 1 spin slash. That's only possible with the power ring. Alright, there's a few more keys left in this dungeon, and then we can make our way to the boss. We still haven't seen the mini boss yet, but we'll get there shortly. qdoe does that nice 3-tile jump without any buffers. Trying to clear this little stop us out of the way so we can get some free hearts out underneath these 2 pots right here, which is a very good decision. One of the attacks on Goma is if she does manage to grab you with her claw, it does a harden half of damage, and it looks like qdoe wouldn't have survived one of those, so just some extra safety. The window is, it's not incredibly tight, but it's still not giant, so anything can happen, so you gotta play it safe. Alright, back on Saga's side, there is 1 more small key you need to grab on this side for the final minecart ride of this dungeon. We did mention that the developers really liked minecarts this time around. Alright, that was a good fight from qdoe. Now he's got his 4th essence. Meanwhile, Sagas is getting ready to enter the mini-boss of Dungeon 5, the Sagar. Okay, got a really good pattern. And just like that, he is gone. Okay, Sagas is getting ready for a little bit of a skip. The game wanted us to go right instead of left and just push a magnet ball to block these fireballs, but we can get through this with just 1 or 2 hits with the Pegasus Seed and Feather, so we can just go straight here. so we can get to this last little side-scroller section that has the big key. Last saving point of the dungeon, and we're going straight to the boss. Just like in Dungeon 5 of original Legend of Zelda, the boss for Dungeon 5 in Oracle of Seasons is Dig Dogger. This time he is immune to music and the flute, but the game gave us a new item to use against him instead of these magnet gloves. In his room there is a little spike ball that is a bit hard to control at times, so we have to hit him 4 times, and then we try to use that spike ball to destroy the mini Dig Doggers that he spawns. So let's see if we get the 1 cycle. If we do not kill the little mini Dig Doggers fast enough, they will become a big one again. And that was a really nice fight from Sagas, and then Dungeon 5 is done. qdoe is on his way to get his bomb flower and get the power of fall and autumn. Now that we have all 4 seasons, the segments between dungeons feel a lot shorter. Before we can make it to Dungeon 6, we have 2 of the 4 jewels that we need in order to unlock a gate that brings us to Dungeon 6. We were kind of in the area where one of the jewels are much earlier in the game, but we didn't have the flippers at the time, and we did not have essences 4 and 5. Cat Tag being kind of jerks. I'm blocking this bush, but we come over to this cave. This old man, he gives us another jewel. He will not give this to us unless we have essences 4 and 5 already. And then back to this tree that we kind of visited along the way to Dungeon 3. So we can go back to the beach, which we have not seen for quite a while. And this is the only time that we will ever use the mystery seeds this run. First we need to light a torch. We're just going to play a little bit of gamble and hope we get the Ember Seed effect as soon as possible. It is theoretically possible to... Wow, that was the very first try. But we need the mystery seed so we can use it on this question mark. For mysterious reasons. But anyways, this spawns a little mini Moldorm. When we kill him, he unlocks our last chest. Or our last jewel. And then back to this Pegasus seed tree, which is where we will find our way to Dungeon 6. This little area is like, this makes us think about all the effects of all the seasons so we can navigate through. Also along the way, we are going to be picking up the Noble Sword. The trading sequence in Oracle of Seasons, all it does when we get to it, it gives us the riddle on how to get the Noble Sword. But since that is not randomly generated, it's the same every single time, we don't bother with the trading sequence and always get the Noble Sword because it's not too far out of the way. Not sure if Sagas goes for Noble Sword with the Power Ring or not, so we will see that really fast. Entourage played nice by those mushrooms. So, the big puzzle in this one is we have to do the seasons from coldest to warmest. Starting with winter, going down to fall, then spring, then summer. For both puzzles, one puzzle takes us to Noble Sword, the other takes us to Dungeon 6. So, doing the seasons in coldest to warmest and then going left all 4 times afterwards takes us to the Noble Sword. And then doing the same thing, except starting left and going counterclockwise in the directions after you get the right season takes us to Dungeon 6. So, Power Ring and Noble Sword is pretty strong. It does take a while to soul grab that after changing it with all these seasons changes, because we have to do all these changes again so we can make our way up to Dungeon 6. Ball and Chain is not playing nice with Sagas right there. Kind of guarding that stump. Hoping on his next time around he does not guard the Spring Flower when he gets back this way. But first we have to unblock the cliff that the Spring Flower goes to. Because we also need Spring so we can destroy that flower right there. So we'll see how Ball and Chain plays. Perfect. Oh no, who is this? That is now taunting us at the front of Dungeon 6. Well, that was fast, so we won't worry about that. So, Dungeon 6. With a saving quit and some being mindful where to use keys, we're able to skip a key and skip a cycle through this dungeon. And also be the last time that we use the spinner platforms in this run. Oracle of Seasons is really more action and fight focused compared to its counterpart Oracle of Ages, which is very puzzle based. But so we go ahead and grab our key. We do another save and quit really fast, and then what they're actually doing a save and quit to continue, and then doing a soft reset because it's a little bit faster than the actual save and quit function. But every time we do a save and quit and continue, it resets everything back to default positions within dungeons. The game wanted us to come back down, use the small key on a block right by the entrance. But by just doing that and coming back, we don't have to use that key, and we don't have to do a long path to the final key, which is on the back half of the bottom floor. So we just keep going. What we're off to now is we need the magic boomerang in order to kill some enemies as well as to hurt the boss. qdoe's had some mishaps as far as deaths and stuff earlier this run. He does a slightly different route, but not a different route, if that makes any sense. The major difference that he does is he didn't grab a ring, and then Sagas, he does have the number 2 time, so he does have a lot more experience underneath his belt and a lot more practice as well. But there are still some tight tricks coming up that could easily change the direction of this race depending on how these tricks go. And so this run is not done until it's done. Alright, so with Magic Boomerang, it lets us throw the boomerang in different directions a little bit faster. It also gives us the ability to finally kill these little Armos without bombs, which is incredibly unreliable unless you have some kind of RNG manipulation going on. Now that we do have a boomerang, should this ever be needed, we can use the boomerang on anti-fairies to turn them into real fairies and give us a quick refill. Quick seed refill as well as a fairy underneath that other pot. And now we're on our way to Indiana Jones room. Just have to beat these low crushers, Very easy to do. Gives us our boss key finally. And then at this point, we still have not seen the mini boss. This dungeon can be pretty scary if you die or otherwise get sent to the beginning of the dungeon again. And now we don't have that extra key because we already used it. So there's a long loop that you have to do, or a little bit of a loop so you can fix the spinner cycles to get you back to where you need to be. Current world record time is 1 hour 39 minutes 14 seconds by Z Master, and just in time for our mini boss of Dungeon 6, Fire. There are 3 different attacks that he can do. One is just you can charge straight at you. One where he just kind of spins around the room, and then one where he just kind of fires and flies off. And that was a really nice fight from Sagas. After you do 3 spin slashes on Fire, he turns into 3 different smaller bats, and then 1 slash. And in one of the few instances, we want to make sure you are in the air, you are jumping when you do the slash. While it doesn't look like it on visually, there are 2 different levels as far as what things can hit. Typically, if you jump something and then try to shoot a seed slash a sword, it's too high. You can just flat out miss. Other times, and then in the case of those bats, you do want to be in the air when that happens. The little buttons, you saw Sonic just kind of run into the right button over and over again until it turned into stairs. That is complete RNG. So made it through, that's all that matters. And then not too long after we finally get to fight the mini boss, we are going to be on our way to the boss. Another shout out to a Legend of Zelda boss. We have the Manhandler coming up. It's basically a little piranha plant, has 4 different heads. You can only damage these heads when the mouth is open. And it requires a lot of controlling of the boomerang and trying to get the mouth to open up. Basically, the mouth won't open up on a particular side if you're on the same quadrant as it is on the boss itself. And that was a really good fight from Sagas. And then after you destroy the 4 heads, you hit the boomerang, hit it 3 more times with the boomerang, and then 1 slash in this jewel in the middle, and boss complete. And then just in time to see qdoe's Dig Dogger fight, working on trying to get the mini Dig Doggers out of the way. It does sound like looked like he got the 1 cycle, I think. So we're gonna have the synchronized tree chats. Maybe. Getting some more Pegasus seeds really fast, make our way to town. With the boomerang in hand, we have a quick little shortcut to the pirates hangout in Subrosia. There's a little bit of a gap, so you can just kind of throw that boomerang right through that. And then talk to the pirate captain, so we can inform somebody else that we're looking for this rusty bell for them, this pirate bell for their ship. They crash landed in here a while back, and now they're pretty depressed that their ship is stuck, and then especially more so that they lost their pirate bell. So they've been stranded for quite a while now, and Link's pretty nice. He's going to go ahead and find this bell for them. So off to the beach we go. There is a gate right here with a very specific password, but we can't finish the password because there was a pirate in the way. Talking to the pirate captain, let's triggers the movement for him to run away. So we hop into the beach and search for this bell ourselves. But first we need to hop into the other side of the ship. Trigger this little guy. He tells in the afterlife he's gonna help us find this pirate bell. Saw some slashes there. I'm not sure if Sagas was on a manipulation or not. But there are 4 different sand pits that the pirate bell can be. And that's the first place it could have been, so that's awesome. But we do find the pirate bell, but it's pretty rusty and stuff. So it doesn't make the pirate captain happy, so we have to make our way back to a special person in Sabrosia. Right, and he's pretty close to this entrance here where we first entered Sabrosia for the first time. Meanwhile, qdoe's making his way through the Tarn Ruins, gonna get his noble sword really fast, then make his way through Dungeon 6. Alright, so we have the legendary blacksmith of Sabrosia. He spots Link's bell, the pirate bell in Link's pocket, and he's like, "Ooh, that's really cool." But the magic words to make him do stuff is "do it." If you don't say please, he won't do it. Alright, so we're gonna make our way back to the pirate captain. Remember this rock that looked so random that they picked up? Well, it was this screen right here, which is also really close to the... takes us right back to the pirate's captain, just a little bit south from here. And pirates become really happy, so they start sailing again. Sailing it straight out of sand somehow. Now we get to have a fun little cutscene. Meanwhile, qdoe is on his way to grab his noble sword. Look at those pirates, they're all so excited that they finally get to set sail again. Unfortunately for them, since it's been so long, they kind of lost their bearings on how to survive on sea, so they immediately need to bail shortly after this cutscene, which just happens to lead us right next to Dungeon 7. Unfortunately for Link, he doesn't really have much of a choice on who to sail with, because literally nobody else knows how to sail. I just know people that know people. Zelda is allowed to rip off Zelda. It is the other games that ripped off Zelda that it's not acceptable. So the game wanted us to switch the season to summer so we can climb up to this graveyard, but we just do a tie jump in, skip, going to a different screen. We just go straight here. Alright, Dungeon 7 has a fun trick. It's called the pose skip. Also, Sagas is also doing another manipulation on here. We'll point out what all it helps out with in this dungeon in a bit. So obviously it does do the enemy manipulations right there as well. But what the game wants us to do, once it is take a long way to come back to light those torches with the key that we are grabbing from a room to the right. We're gonna open this room to the left really fast because we need to start from right there, so we have enough time to do this trick. So the manipulation works on making those wizards perfect like that. Now make our way over to the left-hand side of this room. So post skip. There's a mini boss that we're supposed to kill so those torches don't go out. If those torches go out, it sends us back to the beginning of the dungeon. But you have just enough time to push those rollers as long as you start from the right spot and have some incredibly tight movement. First major part of this manipulation. In this room that Sagas is in, the armors that can be pushed around is completely random, and the other ones spawn armors that can hurt you, get in the way, just generally waste time. So the manipulation sets that one perfectly for us. And then we have to do that. We actually have to do that room twice. So it also sets it for the second time as well. So do a quick little puzzle here. Get a small key to fall from the ceiling, and then come over here. Do some really tight jumps here. The game wants us to grab the dungeon's item to make these jumps, but why it makes extra trips to come this way. With that miss on that enemy, he might be off his manipulation now. I'm not sure if he fixes it again before leaving this room. Yep. So he does fix it again so we can get those armors in the right position. So we're pretty set on small keys now in this dungeon. And then manipulation is done as far as I'm concerned. This makes it so we don't have to search on those two armors. We're gonna fight our first foe of the dungeon. It's supposed to be our second, but we skipped the first one, so this is the first one now. We light all 4 torches. Poe sister gets mad. Starts to attack Link. And then 2 spins will take care of her. This Poe sister is absolutely required because we don't have a way to skip this room right here. This is similar to that one on the other floor. They all go out, sends you back to the beginning of the dungeon. But we don't have enough time to swim through all that right now. This dungeon can be incredibly scary. You definitely don't want to die, because if you die and you go back to the beginning of the dungeon, you have to redo that trick from early on every single time until you finally get the mini-boss completely done. Alright, so we've got the upgrade to the rock cape, of the rock feather to the rock scape. Lets us have a second jump and lets us glide around. Combined with the Pegasus seeds, lets us do a lot of fun things. Do a lot of fun skips. Much like the feather, it registers 2 directions. One, like the initial direction you're going, and 2, the direction you're going to start gliding at. Alright, just like that, we are finally on our way to the true mini-boss of the dungeon, which is the 2 Poe's sisters in one fight. Big thing on this one is you want to kill them before all the torches go out. They alternate between trying to attack Link directly and trying to attack the torches. So basic strategy is make sure you guard at least 1 torch, and then you'll never get sent to the beginning of the dungeon again. Health looks bad, but we have 2 free parry pots right there, so all is fine. Another big thing that post skip does, it lets it, since we're not using a key at the very start of the dungeon, it also lets us skip this little section. Instead of going left here and grab a small key from here, we just go here. So we can finally get our boss key. Varna playing really nice with qdoe. Fun strategy on that giant trampoline room is just hold right. Alright. Just like that, we have a quick little have some more fun with these stairs and make it to the boss of Dungeon 7, which is the Gleeok, with a little bit of a twist. Once we kill him, he becomes Zombie Gleeok, which is still a pretty easy fight, pretty fun fight, especially with Power Ring and a Noble Sword. Ooh, was that a first try button for qdoe, it looks like? That's really nice. So, much like Gleeok from the original Zelda, he likes to spit fireballs. If you destroy one of the heads, if it does become detached. Yep, and then that was a really nice Gleeok fight from Sagas. On the second phase, especially with Power Ring, as long as you don't get stunned, jump at the right time, you can kill Gleeok before anything is really done in that fight. Alright, so we'll see how qdoe's manhandler fight goes. It's a really tough fight. He opted not to get the refill on the fairy trap before the door, so hopefully nothing too bad happens. Seems like he's not getting beat up too badly, so looks like we'll be fine. Alright, so we are now at the Temple Ruins, where the Temple of Seasons used to be. Game wants us to go to fall, but with Pegasus Seeds and Rock's Cape, we can clear some of the fun holes right here. And enemy decided to try to knock him back, but it didn't work. So, all is well. To open up the way to Dungeon 8, we do need to throw a bomb into this hole. For whatever reason, throwing a bomb into this hole before beating Dungeon 7, getting that essence, does not trigger this cutscene that destroys the temple ruin and opens a way to a cave that leads us to the top of it. Quick change of somewhere so we can climb up to the back half of that. In addition to making this place filled with lava, there was a tree blocking this little entrance beforehand before you did that. So, a few more cave sections of the game, and then we'll be inside Dungeon 8. Some more fun Pegasus Seed and Rockscape jumps. Let's just make it through that quickly. Game of Science gives them some free fairies right here. Now we are in the area of Subrosia. That is the only dungeon that is in Subrosia now, Dungeon 8. Dungeon 8, the big thing, it's the Sword and Shield Maze. There is a icy section, which is the shield, and a fiery section, which is the sword. There is a really important skip that lets us skip about half the dungeon. Saves a good 5 minutes, roughly around 5 minutes, more like 4.5. It's like close to like 4.5, but the game wants us to make a giant loop through this shield portion of the game in the bottom part of the sword to get the hyper slingshot, so we can fight the mini boss of the dungeon. Then come back around. Sagas is going to do a quick save and continue right there, because there are no guaranteed Pegasus seed drops. This is a double frame perfect trick, as well as sub-pixel perfect setup. Pause in the hole to reset as sub-pixels. Looks like he's doing the new setup. Pause bluffer. You have to jump the frame after the bomb explodes, and then on this one, the frame link stops just spinning like that. Let's make it through, and that was an excellent first try HSS skip. This lets us skip a few keys needed in this dungeon, and also lets us save a key on the last big puzzle of the dungeon as well. This leads us straight to the big key. Also lets us skip having to solve this ice block puzzle. Oh, a little bit too far right. Game is picky sometimes on what it wants to register. That's an okay pattern from these armors. It can do like 3 different patterns on the bottom, followed by 3 different patterns on the top portion of the other room. Fire keys was not in the way, so only one other small key that we need to grab in this dungeon. But now we need to freeze the bottom floor of this dungeon, so we can walk across and make our way to the boss. Yep, another side effect on doing the hyper slingshot skip. We don't have to throw an ice block down this hole. That just leads to another key, so we don't need that. We need this one because that section is where the boss hides, right there. We do it with the ice blocks in this order, so it sets up the cards where we need it, so we can bring the final ice block to where we want it. In order to get that last man card, we have to come down here really fast. And in a little detour, grab this last small key that we need. The one that block that we saw while the other section was becoming solid. And hop into this minecart so we can set up our positions. Rizzo is playing nice this time, so that's good. And qdoe's in this little happy powers become sad cutscene. Did it? Wow. Spiny beetles weren't nice. Knocks it. Every time you get hit while holding something, Link just tosses it, unfortunately. And the ice block, unfortunately, went off screen when Sagas got hit by the spiny beetle. Not a very fun time at all, but it happens. It's all RNG at this point. And there we go. Aw, stuff was not playing, just being in the way. And then And that's the third and final ice block that we needed to toss down a hole. And now our way to the boss is open. We'll probably see what, didn't see what Sagas' bomb count was like, but he's feeling confident about what he has. There was a bomb chest by those stairs he just went down. Generally, as long as you have 7 or more, you're perfectly fine. There was a mini-boss that we skipped back in Dungeon 2 that we never actually fought. He comes back with a vengeance because we didn't fight him. Not here, but a little bit later on. So, Medusa, we have the only boss that was not in the Zelda series previously. A pretty trivial boss overall for the boss of the final dungeon of the game, the final essence dungeon of the game, but it's what it is. Also one of the few dungeons that does not even require its item to beat the dungeon. There's actually been some new tech found that you can do some of the other parts without the hyper exchange slash for, like some of the triple statues. Since qdoe did not do the manipulation for Dungeon 7, he has to figure out which armor's hat he can push each time, so it has a little bit of time waste. Just like that, Sagas does have his 8th and final essence. He does need to make a quick trip to town really fast so we can get a special seed that destroys the barrier, because the essences by themselves do not destroy Onyx's barrier. qdoe goes for a really tight jump. Unfortunately doesn't make it, but it happens. Yep, so we haven't seen Onyx for a while, so the games thought it would be a great time. It's like, hey, remember me? I'm the main villain of this game, so please come see me now. And just like that, we're making our way to Onyx's castle finally, so we can save Din, the Oracle of Seasons, and everything will be good times once again. Alright, we see the barrier vanishing, the essences pop off and make him, and just weakens everything so Link can come through. But what is this? Our little fellow that we saw from back in Dungeon 6 becomes Twinrova. They come in and tell us, like, well, you're too late. We've caused enough damage. We are that with enough agony that we've caused, we can make Ganon come back to life. Fortunately, for the sake of this game, we don't get to see Ganon again. Or unfortunately, depending on how you view that. Another big gimmick with the Oracle games is the use of secrets effectively. Basically, little passwords that continue from one game to the other. You have to. It was something so to make us buy both games, but basically whenever we beat one Oracle's game, we get a password to put into the other one, so we can start what's called a linked game. And this linked game is when we actually get to fight Ganon, when the damage has been caused in 2 different worlds at the same time. Alright, so on this castle, we see Facade. He's a little bit mad. He does the holes attack. We can only get 1 bomb off before he disappears and can't be hit. On these fireballs, we can get 3. And then one other attack that you could do was toss out spiders, which is the only way you can farm bombs if you happen to run out during that fight. So now we get to fight Onyx. Teases us with Din first, and then tries to hit us with a giant ball, but misses, unfortunately. With the power ring, it takes, I think it's 5 spins. And power ring and Noble Spore is like 5 spins. Or 6 spins, rather, sorry. Second phase, we have Din. She hurts us if we accidentally hit her. But what it also does is it makes Onyx's iframes go away for long enough that by the time we finish our spin again, it gives us a second damage against him in time. Dragon Onyx. Let's see. What we hope for is to get him in a stun lock. Oh no, he falls again. Dragon Onyx has a number of different attacks depending on how much HP he has left. So he does a swipe, he does a fireball. He can do energy balls if he's really low on health, like within the last third of health. And there we go, Sagas gets that final hit on with a final time on SRL of 141.12. So a really, really good run. Deathless, I don't think he even used his potion yet, so that's a really good run. Really solid time. Looks like he's improved his best race time as well. So GG to Sagas. We'll see if he wants to come in for an interview. And meanwhile, qdoe is on his way to get his big key in Dungeon 7, and then he's going to finish off Gleeok.
Hey.
GG Sagas, how do you feel about that run?
Awesome. I really played very, very good. I probably lost the PB because of the 8. Oh,
so, did you get hit by Rizzo right before you enter? Was it by the spiky beetle?
Yeah, that's where I lost PB. But to be honest, the run was very good. Like, no major mistakes, literally not, except for the 8, I guess.
And then not too many minor mistakes either.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this. Really, really happy. I wanted to do 142, but I did 141. It was close to be 140, so I'm very happy.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile, we've got qdoe just finishing up Dungeon 7 right now. He had some unfortunate deaths early on. He did get grabbed by hands in Dungeon 3.
Ah, that's bad.
Oh yeah. So this makes win number 2. That's going to advance you over to Losers Final while we wait for the results of Dragon and Bamboo.
Monday. It will be Monday.
Oh yeah, that is game 3. That'll be the final game of that one. Any special things that you want to be focusing on before that matchup is set?
I did some run, but it went super bad, like super bad this afternoon, and I'm really happy to have this run now. Like, really happy.
Yep, and then, did you do a hard reset before the Pirate Bell?
Yes.
Okay, I remember seeing a reset from when you actually talked to the Pirate Captain, and I saw some slashes as you were leaving the ship. Like, wait, I don't remember seeing a hard reset there.
Yeah, it's just a small manip that you have guaranteed first try, Dusty Bell. It's a little bit slower than having first try without hard reset. it's only 5 seconds slower. But it's guaranteed first try, so it's guaranteed that you will last only 5 seconds. So that's why I'm doing that.
Yeah, rather than risk losing 5 additional seconds on 4th try and a little bit of time still on 3rd try.
I think you lost like 15 if you got 4th try, which is bad, and you lost a seed.
Yeah.
It's very slow to have a 4th try. Third try actually it's okay, but 4th it's super slow.
So like I saw some work that Vlak was trying on as far as trying to continue from a belt manipulation to do Dungeon 7. That just didn't work out very well.
The problem with that is you go to a screen that there is a volcano, and on this screen every frame rolls RNG, so that's pretty much super bad to continue the manip after that.
And then those levers, like right next to the mystery seed tree, whenever they start spawning, does rolls every frame as well.
Yeah.
Oh, qdoe just missed that jump, just by a little bit.
I hope qdoe can have good HSS skip.
Oh yeah, because I think this will be an easy PB. It's like if he gets that HSS skip. Yep, that was a really nice first try on the HSS skip on your run.
Yeah, I was checking here because I know that I was on PB pace. All the run I was comparing against World Walker, so I know where I lost time, mostly D6, and I know that I was on PB pace, so I was checking a little bit, and yeah, unfortunate that I lost. I did a mistake that I should not do on Spike. I pressed up to avoid it, but it was 0% chance to avoid it, so I should have like pressed left to throw the crystal thing on the left and not up.
That was a really nice magnet enemy room right there. On qdoe's side. Oh my. Not sure if I saw him do a save and continue or not for the HSS skip.
I did one.
Yeah, I saw you do. I saw you do yours. I don't think qdoe did his.
Oh.
There it is. And he also does the older traditional setup, where you have to visually see where that first jump is.
I don't really like... For me, it's harder, this setup.
Especially since your Q can basically change depending on how close to after you use the seed you use the bomb. And a Q that's really hard to see.
Yeah, and sometimes you have... If you take the fruit for visual cues, sometimes you have dust on it, and when you have dust, you barely know if you're in a good position or not, and I don't like that.
And you also have a little bit of a window where you can throw your bomb, because if you throw it too early, it's like, even if you find the right picks, you could be on the right pixel but still have lost that Q. I think that's it right there. Oh, almost. That was a frame too late on the cape. That was a frame too late. Yep. So do you remember that this is double frame perfect? You had to jump on the very last pixel in frame before Link cannot jump anymore on the first jump. In the second jump, it is a very tight window as far as it is a 1 frame window when you can do that. There we go. He gets it. Please hit the button. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, so on this setup that qdoe do, you use the bomb as visual cue. When the last sprite bomb explosion appear, it's the time that you need to press cape. Oh, fell down. And the one that I did, it's Link animation. When Link finishes flip, that's the moment that I need to press cape.
Yep, and then for the buffer charge, that's the absolute... That for me, that's so much easier to see, but some people process things differently. So ultimately, it's whatever works best for individual runners. There's not very much difference between the two different setups.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I will say the only notable difference that you can see is on the setup that I do. It's one less input. You don't have to throw the bomb. I think it's the only good thing, I would say. The rest is pretty much the same. You just have different visual cue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be slightly slower, and if you can set things up perfectly for the newer setup, since you have to walk further from the door, but it's negligible in the grand scheme of the run itself. See how Wizrobes and Enemy Street Link looks like fine so far. But I do think that qdoe has gotten HSS skip up a bit faster than he has on his previous tournament matches as well. So I think he's at least going to get a tournament PB or a SRL PB.
I don't remember. I think he already have sub 2 on a race.
Oh, he hasn't submitted to speedrun.com.
See. Oh. His first match was 147 against Mashi.
Ah, there it is. Yep. Unfortunately, so the hands in the couple deaths did rob him from his PB, but still going to be a pretty solid race time. On his way to drop the final ice crystal now, then have his fun with Medusa. Let's see what that blue Rizro does. Stays out of his way, that's great.
Oh. It was close.
Huh.
And unfortunate, I guess.
Yep. And then ice physics is really bad in the Oracle's game as far as you get hit or you get knocked the wrong thing, clink on the wrong thing. Its effects on you is so strong, and it's really hard to get Link to come back in the direction you want him to go in. It's like, yeah, it's like, for that reason alone, it's like, even if you're new to the run, I would tell you to learn HSS skip anyways, rather than the old method before that, because there's so many rooms with awful ice physics you would have to otherwise do, let alone a somewhat difficult mini-boss. But it's more the ice physics sections that is really bad if something goes wrong.
I wonder if you can hit Medusa head with Sword Beam. I never tried that.
I'm not sure if it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Kills Medusa with the poke. Fantastic. Alright, qdoe's got his final lessons, about to go out, grab the seed, and then finish off this game himself. Also see that you do a slightly different maple pattern for that power ring than I'm used to seeing.
It's the backup.
It's the backup?
Yeah,
okay.
When you don't have the first manip, there is a second one.
Okay, I didn't know about that one. Alright, barrier down on qdoe's side, getting ready to finish off a few more tax boxes and make his way into Onyx's castle, have some fun with a few enemies, and then take down the general himself. Oh no. Tinks off the Dark Knight and get it straight into her hand.
Oh, ends again. That's bad.
Yep, just clinking off a little bit too many things to get pushed around by the darkness in general. Makes it pretty hard to avoid the hands. Took care of the trouble darkness really fast, so that's really good. Yep, and then the floor masters, they just have some wonky physics on how far away they can grab you in relation to Link. Alright, makes it past Visage just fine. And starting our Onyx fight. Hoping to never see any Warwolves come out of Onyx. Yep, with that power ring it takes 7 spins per phase. Gonna try to go for the double hit by using the iframes while hitting Den. Took a couple hits from that whirlwind attack. Going in 5 hearts, that's pretty healthy for Dronix. As long as nothing that terribly happens, this will be a really nice run, or really nice fight. Opts for the traditional spin attack strats. It does take 8 spins. And then when Dragonon's is low, you'll start seeing these energy ball attack be put into the mix. He could very easily chain those into the fireball attacks, and then GG for qdoe with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 11 seconds.
GG. Oh yeah, I remember something that I did. Do you remember on D3? I skipped a cycle on those moving platforms. You can make 2 jump, not that precise but pretty hard, to just skip a cycle.
Dungeon 3.
It's when you have the feathers, you have to go on the 2D section, and right before the 2D section there is moving platforms. So if you do...
Oh, okay, yeah.
If you do jump, not that precise what I said, but if you do jumps of the right moment, you can skip alpha cycle, actually not a cycle, alpha cycle of the moving platform, saving times.
And then the only other random thing that kind of went wrong was in D4, I think. You just had that really bad keys right after the early cycle on the first underground section.
It was good keys, but the last one was in bad position. I didn't see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was... I think it was the only mistake I did on D4. The rest was pretty clean.
Yeah, it was all really clean. And then we will be getting qdoe in. I need to see if I need to send him a manual invite or not. And we've got Keto on stream with us. Good, GG.
Thanks. That was at least a better run than last week, so.
And big thing is you did push through despite all the frustrating mistakes.
Yeah. there were a couple of those.
And then that was a 4th try HSS skip today?
It was something like that. Either 4th or 5th. But yeah, it was fairly quick, which is always a good feeling.
Oh yeah.
To stare at that screen for 10 years. So.
Yep, and then so this is your final match for the tournament. Do you still have any future plans continuing with seasons, or are you gonna move into something else?
So I do. Well, eventually I want to, get sub 150 in seasons.
Oh, nice.
I didn't have as much time this, like during the tournament to practice. I felt so didn't quite get it here, but actually next I'm in the TMC tournament, so
okay,
be playing a lot more of that coming up here.
Let's see, what category are they doing for that one again?
It's any percent.
Any percent? Okay.
Yeah. Despite what I had told Toadswood, I don't think I'll be learning Hundo for that game anytime soon.
Yeah, that one seems to be a bit more brutal and reliant on RNG a bit more.
Yeah. At least they do have a minute for figurines for 100%, but...
That's good.
I don't know. It's still like 40 minutes of the run just doing a RNG minute, so...
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, seasons, big fan of the game. It was nice to, have an extra time playing it, because I wasn't aware that it was a best of 3 coming into this round, I should say. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Made it pretty far into the tournament.
Yeah. Only a couple of times where it felt like, where it was kind of outside things that allowed me to advance, but
yeah,
those kind of things happen, I guess.
Unfortunately, but we have to do what we need to do.
Yep.
And this looks like this is everything that's going to be on Speed Gaming 2 today. Looks like there's some Mega Man 2 randomizer going on Speed Gaming 5. Some some Super Metroid Link to the Past crossover randomizer on 1. And then after that, we'll see what's going to happen with the rest of the night. Any closing thoughts for either of you two?
No. I think everything was said.
Yeah, I guess all I have to say is good luck, Sagas, in the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, thanks you. This run was close to PB for me. Very close.
Yeah, that seemed like a really good time, so...
That's good, because right before this I did some attempt, it went really bad. Like, really bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always nice when the one that matters is the good attempt.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yep. Hoping to see these final few matches end up on the weekend. And since I think everybody remaining on the tournament is European.
That's true. Bamboo and Dragon, both are Europeans, and me, European too.
Yep, I've missed a lot of the matches lately because I've been at work in the US. So I was glad to at least be able to be around for another one before the tournament concluded.
Yeah, I've missed a lot of them too, because, you know, also in the US, so they're all during work. But, I don't know, it would be nice if they're during the weekend, but of course everybody's schedule needs to work out, so...
Yeah. But every match does get highlighted and gets sent straight to the Speed Gaming YouTube channel, so they're not forever lost.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Glad we can go back and watch all of these matches.
Oh yeah. Okay, so with that said, my name is JC87. That was the last match commentating for the 70% tournament for Oracle Seasons for Sagas versus qdoe. The final matches of this tournament is going to be pretty tight. A lot of small things can happen that can easily dictate the outcome of those races now. So that the next match does come up on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So until then, have a great day out, everyone.
Have a great day. See you next time.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone.